and thank you for tuning in. We are going to be practicing microblading on this fake skin. We already outlined our fake skin, and we are going to be measuring the brows. This is for starting students only. You could always find your center of the brow with this guide here. Then you're going to want to create. I typically go all the way to the end. You don't want your brows to be any bigger than 2 inches long. It's not natural, so I'm going to be bringing my arch there. Right over here, same thing. Sometimes you gotta go over it a couple of times to create that line of demarcation. And we're gonna be drawing the brow. Sometimes the pens don't work because of the skin. And so it's gonna be perfect. We just want a starting shape. Obviously, it's gonna be a lot easier with a client that already has a starting template. But in any case that it's not available, or your client has little to no hair, you want to make sure you want to create a very natural looking brow. So we're gonna go into the other point here. I mean, this is just a rough draft. It's not gonna be the best. We just want somewhere to kind of go back and fill in the areas here. This one's a little more pointed. And I think I'd rather not have it pointed. It's not too natural. So we're gonna go ahead and cut that there. Now, the pin shape doesn't determine the full brow. It's the strokes and how you go in there and work. That's what makes the difference. So, now that we have a starting template there, and I make all my students do this kind of work. Practice makes perfect, so you want to make sure you are practicing at least 15 minutes a day to perfect this craft. And my go-to microblading needle will be Choose. And I want to say this is the 12 needle. Angled. So we're going to go ahead this is my practicing pigment as well. I have juice. And this pigment is great to use with clients, also on fake skin. I always say if you're going to invest in something, make sure you invest in the proper and right things in the beginning instead of making a double expense. So, for me, this is my practicing one. And this color is brown coffee. We're going to shake it up a little bit. There's also several microblading pens out there that you may like. I like this heavier one, feels comfortable for me. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab some pigment. I typically don't work with rain cups, but we're gonna go ahead and grab a little smidge of that. Make sure you guys are wiping your tools after. Now remember, I said the eyebrows are not going to look perfect by themselves until you start working. So I'm going to put that away. We have our working ink here. I also put it on in a tray, but just leave it there. Okay. And you always want to show your clients when you open up a needle in front of them. So you open it just like so. And then you apply it on the end here. All right, let's get right into it. We're just gonna go ahead and so at this point, because you need to start training your eye to look at the client from this angle, this is how I want you to work. If you feel like you need more practice, then you could go ahead and face it the opposite way to work with it a little better. Now the starting strokes that are my go-to will be the 1, 2, 3 stroke. So you want to start right where you created the brow. And it's okay to come out of the line there a little. It's not a big deal. So that's one. And you're just going to overlap the second right next to it. And then 3 right outside. Now, if it's too gappy for you, you could always go back and fill in. But right now we are laying down the foundation of the brow. Again, we're going to do 1, 2, 3. Again, you want to make sure you keep your blade nice and clean so you're able to see what you're doing. And again, we're going to go 1, 2, and 3. This cup is a bit too small for that, but we're just going to work with what we have. And we're just going to dip there. I don't have a problem using the ring, but we're going to do 1, 2, and 3. Now, when you get closer to the end of that stroke, you want to be lighter on your pressure so it could give you a tapered end on that. Again, we're going to do a 1, 2, and 3. And again, you could make sure you're 2 and 3. One, 2, 3. When you get closer to the arch, your chair is going to have to move around the client. And again, we continue and we bring down this area to meet with that. And here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now you see how it's starting to connect. That's the goal. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, if it was a client, I'll be a little more cautious of where I'm putting my stroke and pigment. But because we are just working on fake skin, we're just going to go ahead and practice on the strokes here. You're going to make sure you pull the skin to push the pigment inside the stroke. You want to make sure you don't have too much of a heavy hand. Sometimes that could cause scar tissue, and the final look is probably not the best. We want to make sure we keep it nice and clean and natural. With microblading, everyone wants a natural look. So, again, they are pretty spaced out right now, but we are going to build on that. This is our foundation. We're going to go back, look at the brow. Now, you could either continue to work. When I'm working with a client, I go one eyebrow first to set the foundation. Then I work on my other brow and work on that one. But because I am making a video, we're going to just continue to fill the brow in. You don't want them too close together because then it'll create a blurry line that bleeds, and we don't want that. I also like to focus on the starting base to make sure we have the shape nice and shapely there. I do have smaller needles that I like to also work with when I'm microblading, but I do also create eyebrows with a single needle. Now, what changes is the type of skin that the client has. We want to make sure if they have thinner skin, we choose the appropriate needle. To create nice strokes. Again, we're going to go back in. In these areas that need filling in. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we want to make sure it's still nice and natural. And when I'm working with the finer strokes, I don't like too much pigment on my microblading pen because I'm able to see where the placement of the stroke is going. We're going to go back into the tail and fine tune everything there. Now this brow may be too straight for some, but that's okay. Adjustments are always possible with different face shapes. And through the course, you will be learning 5 different eyebrow shapes. So if you're interested in taking a course with AUM Spa Studio, make sure you like and subscribe my videos. These are very educational. I've been teaching permanent makeup for over 4 years. So it is my pleasure to share my knowledge and growth with you guys through a platform that is not too costly. All you have to do is subscribe and share. And it's looking good there. You know. Now, some students also have problems working on the left brow, but it's always in the chair of the position of your chair. So because the client's head, you can't rotate it, your chair is going to be rotating, okay? Keep that in mind. And now we're going to go back into the left brow, starting in the line of demarcation. We're going to create a stroke. And again, we're going to do the 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, after a while, if your blade is not creating nice clean strokes, you want to go ahead and remove the blade and replace it with a new one. And that's what we're doing right now. Who doesn't love fresh, nice blade needle? Now, I have had students that change the angle of their microblading pen. Whatever feels comfortable for you is fine. I was trained with mine at a kind of almost 90, no, 45-degree angle. But let's see, hopefully these strokes come out better now that we got a new needle there. And we're gonna go back 1, 2. You're gonna realize how much of a difference a needle makes while you're working. Again, 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. We're gonna go back 1, 2, 3. And we start following the route. 1. Now, reminder, it is not going to be the prettiest on the fake skin, especially when you lay down your foundation. But when you go back, and fill in, it'll make the world a difference. So, back to the left brow. We're gonna go back in here. Now, if you could see on these first few strokes when I was using the older needle, they're not the sharpest, but it's okay. We're gonna go back in and fill. I want you to focus on the areas that are needing that and fill in stroke, but don't overwhelm it either. So again, nice motion of the wrist. And again, we're going to go in. Now, when you're working with a real client, you want to make sure you are spreading the skin open and applying with the applicator. Things change when you're working with the fake skin. So, just want to make sure you guys understand the purpose of why pulling the skin nice and taut is important for this kind of service procedure. Now for this one, I have to pull the skin a little more to push the pigment in. So when you're working with fake skin, you just want to lift. Put your finger behind the fake skin. And again, just back and forth motions to get that. Now, some areas are not the cleanest. Again, I'm focusing on my old blade. So just make sure you pay attention to the needle as you're working. If you start feeling it being dull, move forward and get another needle. Make your life easier. And again, I'm going back in the areas that need strokes. This is what you also want to do when you are working with people that just want certain areas to fill in.
And there you go, guys. We have the brows that we created with a 12 needle curved or angled. Now that we're done, we're going to go ahead and remove the needle. And you're done. Thank you for watching.